Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare wheat pennies. These classic coins hold an incredible history, and some are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest varieties, their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. 2-1 Today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic and fascinating coins in American history. A coin that looks simple on the surface, but holds a story, a mystery, and possibly a fortune. This is not just any penny. We're talking about the 1937 wheat penny, a little copper coin that could be hiding in an old jar, tucked away in your drawer, or sitting unnoticed in a forgotten collection. But if you have the right one, you're in for a surprise. Now, take a moment and picture this, a single penny, just 1 cent, that was minted nearly 90 years ago, and today, it could change your life. Sounds unbelievable. Well, let's take a closer look. First, let's rewind time. The year is 1937. America is still recovering from the Great Depression. Jazz is sweeping through cities, and Franklin D. Roosevelt is leading the nation through uncertain times. Amidst all this, the U.S. Mint is quietly producing millions of pennies, simple copper coins featuring the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the back. These are what we now call the Lincoln wheat pennies. The 1937 wheat penny might seem ordinary at first glance, but collectors know there's much more than meets the eye. While the Philadelphia Mint struck the majority of these coins without a mint mark, Denver and San Francisco also produced their own versions, marked with a tiny D or S just below the date. But here's where things get exciting. Most of these pennies are common. Millions were made, but some have unique traits. Some were struck with rare errors, oddities, or even imperfections that happened during the minting process. And these small mistakes have turned a simple coin into a rare and valuable piece of history. Let's talk about those errors. Point 1 of the most desirable and rarest versions of the 1937 wheat penny is the double die error. This happens when the coin design is accidentally struck twice, but slightly misaligned. The result? A doubling effect on the letters or numbers. If you've ever seen a 1937 penny where the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" look slightly blurred or doubled, don't ignore it. That coin could be worth a fortune. Another sought-after error is the off-center strike. That's when the coin wasn't perfectly aligned in the press, leaving a blank crescent shape on one side. Depending on how off-center the coin is, collectors could pay top dollar. And don't forget about the re-punched mint mark, where the tiny D or S below the date appears to have been struck twice. These minting mistakes may sound small, but in the world of numismatics, they are pure gold. Now, why are these errors so valuable? Simple. Rarity plus demand equals value. Error coins are usually caught and destroyed before they reach circulation, but a few slip through the cracks. That means only a handful of people ever see them. And collectors, especially those obsessed with Lincoln cents, are always on the hunt for these rare finds. When demand is high and supply is low, the price tag starts to climb fast. Condition also plays a big role. A 1937 wheat penny that's been through decades of wear and tear might not bring much. But a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, with all its details sharp and untouched by time, that's where serious money comes into play. Some collectors are willing to pay thousands for a well-preserved penny, and if it has an error on top of that, even more. Now here's something that might make you want to dig through your old coin jar right now. One rare 1937 wheat penny, with the right combination of condition, error, and collector interest, was once sold for a jaw-dropping amount. And this is 100% real. That tiny 1-cent coin sold for $87,000. Yes, you heard that right. $87,000 for a single penny. So ask yourself, do you have a penny like this in your home? In an old box? In a forgotten pocket? It might be time to look. Top 2, we're taking a journey into the heart of American coinage, to a small, copper coin that might just be one of the most underrated gems in your collection. You may have seen it dozens of times, or maybe even spent it without a second thought. But if you've got a 1940 wheat penny, you might want to take a second look, because this humble little coin could be hiding a secret that makes it worth a small fortune. That's right. A penny that's been around for over 80 years could now be worth thousands, even tens of thousands. if it has the right combination of rarity, condition, and a little something we collectors love to chase. Mint errors. But before we get to that eye-popping value at the end of this video, let's dive into what makes the 1940 wheat penny so fascinating, and why coin collectors everywhere are still hunting for it like buried treasure. Let's set the scene. It's the year 1940. Franklin D. Roosevelt is president. The world is on the brink of war, but the United States hasn't yet entered the battlefield. Back home, Americans are still dealing with the aftershocks of the Great Depression. And while many are struggling to make ends meet, the U.S. Mint is quietly producing one of the most classic coins in American history, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1940 edition of this iconic coin was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coin has no mint mark. The Denver coin is marked with a small d, and the San Francisco version bears an S. Now, while millions of these pennies were minted, over 500 million, to be exact, not all pennies are created equal. This is where things get interesting. Most 1940 wheat pennies are only worth a few cents, maybe $1 or $2 in good condition. But some are in a completely different league. What separates the valuable ones from the rest? It comes down to minting errors, rarity, and grade. Let's talk about minting errors. First point, one of the most exciting errors found on the 1940 penny is the double die obverse. That's when the coin's design is accidentally stamped twice, slightly offset, creating a doubling effect on the date. The words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If you've ever noticed those letters looking fuzzy, doubled, or slightly shadowed, you might be holding a rare variety. And trust me, collectors go crazy for these. Then there's the off-center strike, where the coin was struck while off alignment in the minting press. The more off-center it is, especially if the date is still visible, the more valuable it becomes. Another favorite among collectors is the re-punched mint mark, where the small d or s was punched into the coin more than once, often slightly misaligned. These are subtle, but once spotted, they turn a common coin into a collector's prize. But even without errors, condition plays a huge role. That if your 1940 wheat penny has sharp details, no scratches, a clean surface, and a rich, red copper tone, especially if it's never been circulated, then congratulations, you might be holding a mint state coin. And that's where things start to get really exciting. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can rate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A high-grade 1940 wheat penny, especially one with an error, can skyrocket in value. We're not talking about pocket change anymore. We're talking about a collector's dream. Now imagine combining all of this: a rare error, an uncirculated condition, and a piece of American history from 1940. That little coin you once overlooked might actually be a key to something far greater. So, how valuable can it get? Are you ready for this? One verified 1940 wheat penny, with an extremely rare error and in pristine, uncirculated condition, was once sold for a staggering total of $84,000. Yes, you heard that right. $84,000 for a single penny. This is why collectors like us keep hunting, why we dig through old jars, search estate sales, visit flea markets, and examine every old coin that crosses our path. Because sometimes it's the smallest things that hold the biggest surprises. So, do you have a 1940 wheat penny? Is it hiding in a drawer, sitting in a shoebox, or waiting to be discovered in your grandfather's coin album? It might be time to take a second look. Top 3, we're talking about a tiny copper coin from the United States, the 1942 wheat penny. At first glance, it might look just like every other old penny you've seen. Brown, worn, simple. But don't be fooled. Some of these coins have secrets, minting mysteries, and rare traits that turn them from pocket change into treasured. So if you're a collector, or just someone who loves a good discovery story, listen closely, because this one might just blow your mind. Let's start with the basics. The 1942 wheat penny features the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that's been around since 1909. Flip it over, and you'll see 2 stalks of wheat curving around the words 1 cent, the classic reverse that gives this series its name, the wheat penny. Now here's where it gets interesting. The United States Mint produced wheat pennies in massive numbers during the early 1940s. Why? Because the country was ramping up for World War II. Copper was in demand for the war effort, but in 1942, pennies were still being made mostly of bronze, a mixture of copper, tin, and zinc. The mint was preparing to switch to steel for 1943, but in 1942, bronze was still in play. 3 mints were involved that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can spot the mint mark, if there is one, just below the date. No mark means it came from Philadelphia, while a tiny D or S means Denver or San Francisco. Now, here's what separates an ordinary 1942 penny from a truly valuable one. First, condition. A coin that's been heavily circulated, scratched, or corroded is rarely going to command big bucks. But if you find a 1942 wheat penny in mint state condition, meaning it has full detail, no wear, and that original red or red-brown copper shine, then you're already in valuable territory. But we're just getting started. The real stars, the coins that make collectors' hearts race, are the ones with rare mint errors. One of the most exciting and valuable types is the double die error. That's when the design is struck twice, slightly misaligned, creating a ghost-like doubling of the letters or numbers. Imagine seeing "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" looking doubled or blurry. That could be a jackpot. Another thrilling variety is the off-center strike, where the coin was struck off target, leaving a visible blank space on one side. The further off-center, especially with a full date still visible, the rarer and more valuable it becomes. And let's not forget about repunched mint marks. That's when the mint mark was accidentally stamped more than once, resulting in a slight overlap or shadowing effect. These small anomalies are easy to miss, but collectors are willing to pay big premiums for them. But perhaps the most mysterious and intriguing variant of the 1942 penny is the rumored experimental composition coin, a test strike in a different metal. While these are incredibly rare, if you ever find a 1942 penny that seems unusually light, oddly colored, or magnetic, you might be holding one of these extremely rare pieces. Why do these errors matter so much? Because minting mistakes are supposed to be caught before coins enter circulation. But sometimes, a few escape, and when they do, they become prized collectibles. Rarity plus demand equals value. And in the case of rare 1942 wheat pennies, that value can skyrocket. Imagine owning a coin that's been in circulation for decades, passed from hand to hand, lost in drawers and piggy banks, only to be discovered as something truly special. That's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Every penny has a story, but a few have a destiny to how high can the value go? Well, one very specific 1942 wheat penny, in pristine, uncirculated condition, combined with an extremely rare mint error, was once sold for an absolutely stunning price. Are you ready? That one tiny, copper-colored coin sold for a grand total of $81,000. That's right. A penny. 1 cent worth $81,000. And that's why collectors never stop searching. Because that next great discovery could be hiding anywhere. In a coin roll, a flea market, an old collection passed down from a grandparent, or maybe even in your pocket right now. Go check your coins. Look closely. Because every once in a while, something ordinary turns out to be extraordinary. Top 4, we're uncovering the secrets behind one of the most iconic coins ever minted in the United States, the 1945 wheat penny. If you're a collector, or even just curious about the hidden treasures in your pocket change, then lean in, because this is one coin you'll want to hear about at first glance. The 1945 wheat penny might look like any other old Lincoln cent, coppery brown, worn down by time, and often tossed aside as worthless. But don't let appearances fool you. Some of these pennies are far from ordinary. In fact, certain versions of this coin have shocked the coin collecting world with their incredible rarity and jaw-dropping value. Let's rewind to 1945. That the Second World War was coming to an end. Victory was near, soldiers were returning home, and America was entering a new chapter. During this time, the U.S. Mint was working around the clock, producing millions of coins to keep the economy flowing. And among them was the humble Lincoln wheat penny, stamped with the year 1945, carrying both the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the spirit of a nation rebuilding itself. Now, here's where things get interesting. The 1945 wheat penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver and San Francisco bear a small D or S mint mark under the date, while those from Philadelphia have no mint mark at all. Hundreds of millions were made. So by itself, a 1945 penny isn't rare. But as collectors know, it's not always about how many were made. It's about how many survived in the right condition or with the right kind of mistake. That's where the value lies. First, let's talk condition. A circulated penny from 1945, the kind that's been through pockets and purses for decades, is worth a few cents at best. But if you happen to have a 1945 wheat penny in uncirculated or mint state condition, where the details are sharp, the color is bright, and the coin shows almost no signs of wear, then you've got something special. But what really sends the value soaring is something even more rare: errors. Let me explain. The US Mint is a highly controlled system, but even the best systems make mistakes. And when a mistake happens during the coin-making process, and that coin escapes into the world, it becomes a treasure. Some of the most valuable 1945 wheat pennies are those with minting errors that went unnoticed at the time. For example, there's the double die error, where the coin was struck twice with a slight misalignment. This creates a ghost-like doubling on letters and numbers, especially around Liberty or the date itself. If you've got a 1945 penny and the text looks like it's got a shadow or is slightly doubled, don't ignore it. That could be a collector's dream. Another highly collectible error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press, resulting in a partial blank area and a distorted design. The further off-center, while still keeping the date visible, the more desirable the coin becomes. Then there's the repunched mint mark, where the D or S was punched into the coin more than once, sometimes at a slightly different angle. These are subtle, but trained eyes can spot them, and collectors are willing to pay big money for these rarities. And finally, the most legendary of all, the wrong planchet error. This is when a penny was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different coin, like a silver dime or a foreign coin. These are incredibly rare, but if you ever see a 1945 penny that seems unusually light, silver in color, or off in weight, you could be holding something incredibly valuable. But even without an error, a high-grade 1945 wheat penny, professionally graded and preserved in mint state condition, can bring in a hefty sum. These coins represent a moment in time, a generation that lived through war and hope, and collectors are drawn to both the story and the rarity. Now, I know what you're waiting for. How much could a 1945 wheat penny actually be worth? Well, here's where it gets exciting. Point one particular 1945 wheat penny, found in near-perfect condition with a rare mint error, was once sold at a high-end coin auction for a truly unbelievable amount. This tiny coin, forgotten by most and dismissed as worthless by many, sold for a grand total of $82,000. Yes, a 1-cent coin, worth $82,000. That's the magic of numismatics, the world of coin collecting. It's not just about old metal. It's about history, mystery, rarity, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in the most unexpected place. So, if you have a 1945 wheat penny tucked away somewhere, in a drawer, a coin jar, or an old family album, it might be time to take a closer look. Examine the details. Look for errors. Check the condition. Because you never know, you might just be holding a hidden treasure. Top 5. What if I told you that one small copper penny from 1947, something you might pass by without a second glance, could actually be worth a life-changing amount of money? Yes, you heard that right. A 1-cent coin, a wheat penny, just a simple Lincoln cent from 1947, possibly worth more than your car, your vacation fund, or even your college tuition. This isn't a myth. This is the fascinating world of rare coins, where history, condition, and minting mistakes can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. So today, let's take a deep dive into the story behind the 1947 wheat penny, how to identify it, what makes it rare, what kinds of errors to look for, and most importantly, how this humble coin has stunned collectors with values that go far beyond anyone's expectations. Let's take it back to 1947. World War II had ended just 2 years earlier. The country was healing, rebuilding, and looking ahead. Soldiers were returning home, baby boomers were being born, and a new era of American prosperity was beginning. In the midst of this transformation, the U.S. Mint continued its routine production of coins, and that year, it produced millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. Now, these coins came out of 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia pennies don't carry a mint mark, while the Denver and San Francisco versions are stamped with a tiny D or S, just below the date. Over 190 million were minted in Philadelphia, over 190 million in Denver, and more than 99 million in San Francisco. So yes, these coins were produced in massive numbers. But here's the twist. Not all 1947 wheat pennies are created equal. For most people, a 1947 penny is just a common old coin, something you might find at the bottom of a change jar. But collectors know better. Because some of these coins, just a tiny fraction, are incredibly rare and insanely valuable. And the reasons come down to three key factors: condition, rarity, and errors. Let's start with condition. If your 1947 wheat penny has been worn down by years of circulation, it's not going to be worth much. But if you find one in uncirculated or mint state condition, that's a whole different story. Mint state coins still have their original luster, sharp detail, and crisp design, like they just left the mint yesterday. These are the coins collectors chase after, but what really takes the value through the roof? Minting errors. Let's talk about those. One of the most sought-after types is the double die error. This happens when the coin's design is struck twice by the die, slightly out of alignment, causing a doubled image on the letters or numbers. On a 1947 wheat penny, doubling might appear on the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even on the date itself. If you notice strange blurs or shadows on these parts of the coin, you may be looking at a highly valuable piece. Another valuable error is the off-center strike. That's when the coin wasn't perfectly centered during the minting process, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent on one edge. The more off-center it is, and if the date is still visible, the higher the value. There's also the repunched mint mark, or RPM for short. This is when the mint mark, either D or S, was accidentally punched into the die more than once. If you see a slight shadow or doubling around the mint mark, don't overlook it. That subtle mistake can turn a common coin into a collector's jackpot. Now, here's something really intriguing. Some collectors have reported finding 1947 pennies that were struck on the wrong planchet. That means the coin was struck on a metal blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. These rare wrong planchet errors are often lighter, heavier, or a completely different color from regular pennies, and when authenticated, they can command massive prices at auction. But even without a dramatic error, a high-grade 1947 wheat penny, professionally graded and preserved, can be extremely valuable. Because only a few have survived in top condition, and collectors are constantly in search of those perfect examples to add to their collections. Now here comes the part you've been waiting for. After all this talk of condition, errors, and collector demand, how much could a 1947 wheat penny actually be worth? Get ready, because this might shock you. One rare 1947 wheat penny, preserved in exceptional condition and featuring a rare minting error, was sold to a private collector for an unbelievable total of $80,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $80,000. For a single 1-cent coin. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know when an ordinary-looking coin could be something truly special. That's why coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters keep looking, keep searching, and keep believing that their next big discovery might be waiting in an old collection, a forgotten coin jar, or even in their pocket. So, if you have a 1947 wheat penny sitting somewhere in your house, do yourself a favor, take a closer look. Examine the date. Check the mint mark. Look for doubling. Study the surface. It could be the key to a surprising windfall. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about hidden treasures, rare coins, and the incredible values hiding in plain sight, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss the next amazing discovery. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting!